Good morning and namaste to all of you. Let's start our Thursday's class with some mantras first. And these are the prayer mantras. So when we recite these mantras, we are being thankful to God, thankful to the Guru. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri, Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha, Tatsavetra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamya, ओम सहनावतु सहनो भुनक्तु सवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति. So these days we are studying this Upanishad, which is called Mundak Upanishad, and it's a conversation between Rishi Angiras and a student's name is Shaunak. So this is from Atharva Veda. All the Upanishads, they belong to one of the Veda. So Atharva Veda. And we ended our last week's class where this great Rishi is trying to take our attention towards that invisible energy which we call God. He says that which is invisible, ungraspable, unoriginated, and attributeless, that which has neither eyes nor ears, nor hands nor legs, that is eternal, full of manifestations, all-pervading, subtlest of the subtle, that imperishable being which the wise perceived as the source of all creation. Okay. So we talked about all of these terms in detail. Now, in verse number 7, he is trying to point it out to this power or God or energy with 3 different examples, so that our material mind can at least grasp a little bit more. Yatha urnabhi srijate grihnate cha, yatha prithiviyam oshadya sambhavanti, yatha sata purushat keshlomani, tatha aksharat sambhavati ih vishvam. Yatha means as, urnabhi, spider, srijate, projects, grihnate, withdraws, cha means and, yatha means as, prithiviyam, from the earth, oshadhaya, plants, sambhavanti, sprout out. Yatha means as, sata means living, purushat, or men, or a man, keshlomane, hair. Tatha means so, aksharat, from the imperishable, sambhavati, comes out, ih, here, vishvam, the universe. As the spider projects and withdraws unto itself the web, as the plants sprout out from the earth, as hair grow on the head and the body of a person, so from the imperishable comes out the universe. So 3 different pictures given here to emphasize the one and the same point of comparison. Rishis have the unique style of using the minimum words with maximum significance in these mantras. So these analogies are the only instruments of expressing the inexpressible. So he is trying to paint a picture with the help of this mantra. And why 3 different analogies? Let's look at it. Logically, what does it really mean? each one of them. The first analogy is a spider. Spider creates the web out of itself and withdraws it unto itself. So that means the material of the web becomes the very substance of the spider. So the web is nothing but a modified form of the spider itself. Comes from the spider. So the same way the supreme reality creates this sansar from himself. The moment we hear of the creation in our tradition of the associated ideas, we have a picture of the Lord as a part maker, sitting up and creating the world out of a substance which is other than himself. So this is what is denied in this analogy. So we got to make a really adjustment in our mind. God does not use anything other than himself to create this. No out of anything other than itself, but out of its own stuff. So this spider picture gives us the how and why of the entire game of creation. But then, if this was sufficient, why the another analogy? The plants sprouting from the earth. This is to deny a possible false suggestion, which can be interpreted in the spider's example. Because we all know spider creates the web certainly for its personal end, for a personal gratification. Spider creates that web so that the other little insects get caught in it and he can absorb them, eat them. So the supreme reality, a person might think that must have a personal purpose to create you and me and the other scheme of things also, which we call world. To deny any purposeful motive behind the creation, this Rishi is giving us a second analogy. Because we know that there's no motive in the earth to produce or nourish the plants. It is without any effort, without any personal motive that the plants come out of the earth. So the same way the world also comes out of the real, the absolute. But then if this explains it, why the third example? Because Rishi must have thought that spiritual aspirant with yet another misunderstanding, because earth itself is inert. Supreme is not inert. It is not like a matter like the earth. It's not insentient. It is not incapable of knowing or feeling. So in order to avert this rut of thinking, we have the third picture. So that's why Rishi says the finite has come out of the infinite as hair grow on the head and the body of a person. As long as the man lives as an expression of his life in him, we have the hair sprouting from the body and the head. And at the same time, it entails no suffering on the part of the individual. And it's effortless also, as an expression of the very life in us. Hair grow and thrive. Similarly, the finite is in its own way an expression of the vitality in the reality. So on the whole, these three pictures distinctly give us three sets of ideas which we can easily comprehend fully in order to grasp the entire process of creation. okay, which are number one, out of him the world has come, without the intervention of any other cause other than himself, and in the end, the projected world is absorbed back again into the divine. Okay, so it comes from the unmanifestation comes the manifestation, and then manifestation absorbs back into the unmanifestation. And the second point he's making, the Supreme has neither the effort nor the purpose with which the spider creates the web. Creation is an effortless, purposeless. Because we often say, what was the purpose of God? Purposeless projection. It's just a divine Leela. And then number three is the Supreme is not a dead, inert matter like the earth. It's a conscious, living, vital personality, positive entity, all-pervading, absolute existence knowledge. Bliss. That's why we call him Sat Chit Ananda. So these three examples, they should not confuse us, but rather it should take our mind towards that absolute reality. Then he says in verse number 8, Tapsaha chiyate brahm tataha annam abhijayate annat prana mana satyam loka karmasucha amritam. Tapsa, that is a tap, austerity, or concentrated thinking. That's also a tap. Chiyate, swells. Brahm, the creative urge. Tataha, then from him. Annam, food. Abhijayate is produced. Annat, from food. Pranaha, pran, the vital energy. Manaha, the mind. Satyam, over here Satya means the five elements, the bhoot. Lokaha, the worlds. Karmasu, karmas. Cha means and. Amritam, over here means fruits of actions. So in meditation or continuous tap, thoughts, the total creative urge swells with the very joy of creation. From him, food is produced. From food, the prana, the mind, the bhoots, the world, the karma, and its fruits. So first of all, the word tap, sometimes we think it's only austerity, but tap has come together in the, like several other significance terms are associated with tap. So over here in the scriptural meaning of tap is a concentrated thinking. That's what Brahmaji did actually. So in that sense, in this verse, the tap means ekagram paramam tap. So development of single-pointed attention is the supreme tap. So after explaining the nature of the supreme reality, now trying to describe the various stages in the process of creation. So that creation was never a sudden and accidental outburst of the entire world of polarity. That is the suggestion over here. There was a very beautiful, ordered scheme about it. So here we are told that how through various stages of manifestation, the scheme of things that we know of now has ultimately evolved out itself. So the creative urge in reality, in its own potency, swells in an impatience of self-expression. And from that, the whole world of objects all those plane of matter emerge out. From matter, life as known to us manifests. And pran here means the life. Pran is the center of all activities. We all know that there is a close relationship between the pran and the mind. We are all very familiar with it. Because we know when the mind is agitated, the rhythm of the pran is quick. When the mind is at rest, we feel no pran actually. Our breathing just almost stops during deep meditation. So Upanishad very rightly concludes that from the prans, the mind springs forth. When the mind is fully manifested with the prans, from that state of emergence of finite, we get the 5 great elements, which are termed here as Satyam in this mantra. So compared with the finite names and forms in the world, the 5 elements, they are relatively infinite and eternal. They change the form, but you cannot destroy it. Even science says matter cannot be destroyed. So the combination of the 5 great elements is the entire world of phenomena that we see around us. So the lok, in Sanskrit, this lok means a plane of experiences. Lok. When there's a field of experiencing, when the food, vital air, mind are brought to play in this field, the individuals indulge in selfish and egoistic actions. Actions end, but in their reactions. The reactions of actions are nothing other than the very actions fulfilling themselves. So these reactions are the fruits of actions. Or in a normal language, we say consequences of our actions. And in this Upanishad, they are termed as Amritam, immortal. Again, in a very relative sense, remember that. So the actions may end, but their reactions do not die away till they bring their effects upon the mind and the body. So in this sense, this mantra is telling us that fruits of our actions are immortal. They stay there for a long time. So this is the sequence. Then the last verse of this chapter is Ya sarvagyaha sarvavid yasya jnanmayam tapaha tasmat etat brahma nam rupam annam cha jayate. Ya means he, sarvagya, aware of all, sarvagya. Sarvavid, knower of all. Yasya means whose, jnanmayam, full of knowledge. Tapaha, concentrated thoughts. Tasmat, from that, etat, these, Brahma or Brahma, the creator, Nam means names, Rupam means forms, Annam means nourishment, Cha means and, Jayate, produced. So from the Supreme Reality, who not only is aware of the total happenings in the world, but is equally in all the details of every minute happenings, whose very thought is of the nature of knowledge, or produced or have produced all these, the creator, the Brahma, the names and forms and nourishments for all. So over here, this Rishi is trying to summarize the entire chapter in a brief and beautiful statement. So where is it coming from? Brahma. But then it keeps on going down, down, and further down. So the supreme reality, Brahma, the light of the intelligence, is nothing but pure wisdom. And it's aware of every happening in the entire cosmos. Nothing is hidden from Brahma. Sarva Vid, Sarva Gya. So this pure consciousness, being by nature absolute existence, knowledge, knows everything. It knows every detail of all that is known. Sarvagya and Sarvavid. These are the two expressions we normally see in the scriptures. It's not very easy for a gross intellect even to conceive this actually. Sarvagya and Sarvavid. We don't even know what a Sarva is actually. It's very hard to understand for this grosser intellect to comprehend this. But these are the terms used by this Rishi. And this is the end of chapter 1 of section 1. Let's start the section 2 with verse number 1. Tat etat satyam mantreshu karmani kavyah yane apashyantani tretayam bahuda santatani tane achara niyatam satyakama eshava pantha sukritasya loke. That means that, etat means this, satyam, true, mantreshu, in the mantras, karmani, karmas, kavya, the seers, yani, which apashyan, practiced, tani, those, tretayam, treta yuga, bahuda, much, santatani, continued, tani, those, acharat, practice, niyatam, always, satyakama, with the true wishes, satyakam. Eshaha, this, va means your, pantha, way, sukritasya, fruits of good actions, loke, in the world. The various karmas which seers found in the mantras are true and were much practiced in the Treta age. Practice them always with the true wishes. This is your way for attaining the fruits of karmas. So this Rishi is telling that student, that Shaunak, advising him this. Because in the last section, he said there are two knowledges, or knowledge can be divided into two heads, higher and lower. Aparvidya and Parvidya. Now in this section, entire kingdom of the lower knowledge is being described. So this section starts with a call to all satyakams. That means to follow faithfully the various rituals ordered in the Vedas. They are true, says the Guru. True in as much as they give the desired results. When the karmas are properly done, which are advised in the Vedas, this particular word used here, tretayam, it could mean treta Yug, it could mean the 3 Vedas also. So a seeker should, in his initial stages of sadhana, should follow the rituals diligently. That is very emphatically expressed in this mantra, actually. Sure, we want to reach to the higher stages, and we think that we don't need the rituals, but rituals are needed. This is what he's saying. The word niyatam means diligently. So it does not merely suggest a faithful and blind performance, but he's insisting upon a regular practice. Regular practice which is continuous, intelligent, fresh, and cheerful. Do it happily, not as a burden. Rituals sometimes we just follow as a routine. They lose all their potency. But if we remember that rituals, what are we trying to do the rituals? The effect of the ritual is that our mind gets cleansed. It should become pure. Our intellect also gets subtler. Because routine, if you just do it routinely, it is only a drill. We got to deliberately, intelligently train our head and heart. That happens only through a diligent abhyas. Only then this desired result can come out. So rituals in themselves cannot and will not lead a seeker to his goal, but they definitely have a place to purify us, purify our equipment. And equipment is the main equipment is our mind and our heart. So this is what he's telling us over here. Okay, niyatam acharat satya kama sukritasya loke. Verse number 2. Yada lelayate hi archihi samidhe havyavahane tat ajye bhag vantaren ahuti pratipadyet shraddhyaha hutam. Yada means when, lelayate, kindled. He, archi, that means fire. Samidhe, when flames begin to move. Havyavahane, in the sacred fire. Tat means that. Ajye bhag avantaren, on the space between the 2 portions of the fire. So it's just like a flames of the fire go in the middle of it. Ahuti, that is the offering which we do, the ghee or the samagri. Pratipadyet, should be offered. Shraddhya hutam, offered with faith. So when the fire is kindled and the flames begin to move, let the sacrificer offer his oblations with faith on the space between the 2 portions of the sacred fire, where the ghee should be poured. The oblations should be poured over there. So that means when we do this fire ceremony also, we got to remember, this is not just a burning of the ghee and the wood and the samagri. This ritual itself done properly can purify us. So Agnihotra, because it's a very important daily sacrifice to be practiced. In the ancient times, every household did this, the yajna, morning, evening. Okay. 2 times Sandhya, morning, evening, dusk, and the dawn. So when the flames of the sacred fire are smoky, dim, the oblations are not to be offered. So that's why what priest does, make sure before we start pouring our samagri in there, the flames are lit beautifully. The oblations are offered only when the flames are brightly dancing, almost like in a cheerful way. The oblations are to be offered at the space between the 2 points, the right and the left, where the ghee is poured. This point is called Avprasthan. In our Vedas, there is a very technical terms for this whole Agnihotra. This is called a ritualistic terminology. So this mantra indicates that the karam itself, limited, has its own rules where and when to perform, and the aim of the teachers is to teach us, to point it out to the disciple that the karam is, sure, it seems sometimes painful, it could seem sometimes complicated, difficult, sometimes rituals look like very laborious, but ultimately they are purifying us. When we do the rituals, our mind is getting cleansed. We will see that we can soar in our higher meditations. That is what is brought out in the next verse. So these rituals are not done just to get something out of them. The purpose of doing these rituals are to clean our mind only, clean our equipment only. With a clean mind, we can soar in our meditations. But if we are doing the rituals just to gain something in this worldly realm, we have not cleaned our mind. Then we cannot soar in our meditations. So this is what this teacher is teaching us through these beautiful mantras. Let's do one more. Verse number 3. Yasya agnihotram adarsham apornamasam achaturmasyam anagrayam atithi vajitam cha ahutam vaishwadevam avidhinahutam asaptam tasya lokan hinastihi. Yasya means whose, agnihotram, the agnihotra sacrifice, which we normally call havan yajna. Adarsham, new moon sacrifices. Apornamasam, full moon. But when we do the in front of it, not accompanied by. Okay, apornamasam. Chaturmasyam, not accompanied by 4 months sacrifices. Nagrayanam, not accompanied by autumnal season. Tithi vajitam cha. Cha means and. Tithi vajitam means without guests. Ahutam, not offered. Vaishwadevam, without the worship of Vishwadeva. Avidhinam, not according to the rules. Hutam, performed. Saptamam, up to the 7th. Tasya, his, lokan, worlds. Hinastihi, destroys. So this mantra says that if a man's agnihotra sacrifice is not accompanied by the new moon and full moon sacrifices, by the 4 months sacrifices, by the sacrifice of the autumnal season, or if it's unattended by guests, or not done in proper time, or performed without the worship of Vishwadeva, or not performed strictly according to the rules laid down in the Vedas, then such karma destroys his worlds till the seventh. So in this verse, we see that teacher, by his exhaustive enumeration of all the minute do's and don'ts, is giving it to a student. So desired effect has to be there of the ritual. No man of discrimination with an awakened intellect would need a greater argument to persuade him to give up the blind ritualistic path. Because the karmas are limited on all sides. If the Agnihotra is not followed by a strict adherence to all the above mentioned acts of charity and kindness, that's what basically it means. Seasonal rituals and self-discipline. If you don't do it properly, any work, if you don't do it properly, we cannot expect a promised result. So this is what this learned master of the Upanishad is saying, that it destroys the three worlds of the performer. He's just telling us that whatever action we do it diligently, do it properly. And 7 worlds can be considered as 7 generations, 3 ancestors and 3 descendants, and ourselves. So 3 before, 3 after, and ourselves 7. So if the ritualistic karma not done properly would have consequence not only upon ourselves, but upon our father, grandfather. So like a parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. And our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. 7. So this Upanishad is emphasizing the drudgery of rules in ritualism, and telling us that do not do the rituals to fulfill the desires, do the rituals to clean your mind. Because only when the mind and the intellect have totally renounced these worldly desires and their preoccupation with the desire-prompted actions, we can hope to meditate on God. That is called a constructive meditation. Because meditation is supposed to detach us from this world and attach us to the higher. Selfless service, jap, puja, sandhya, meditation, they are all very important to a seeker in the early stages of preparation. It is only through these karmas that we can gain a well-integrated personality. If our personality is not integrated, no matter what we are doing, we are not going to get the right result. Because it's only through a well-integrated personality we come to feel who we are. That we are not the personality, the layers of the personality. We are the Atma. It is just a temple. And who resides in the temple? What is our relationship between that ultimate reality and us? Rituals done properly can give us that understanding. So this is what he's trying to tell us through this. And in the next verse, which we'll see next week, he talks about, because I told you that this chapter is all about the rituals. So a lot of terminology which you may not be familiar with. So since the Agnihotra was done by everybody back then, so that's why the emphasis is on the Agnihotra. So in the next verse, he talks about the 7 flickering tongues of the flames. Those rishis, they gave the names to those flames also. Kali, Karali, Manojana, Sulohita, Sudhurshvana, Sufulingni, and Vishvaruchi. We'll talk about it next week. So that is verse number 4. So let's end the class with this verse number 3 today, with this Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.